Well, happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Okay. It's interesting that we celebrate the feast of the Most Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, on the same day that we celebrate Father's Day this year. And that makes preaching a whole lot easier because I can talk about one or the other, as well as the connection between the two feasts, one religious, the other secular. Now, those of you who know me well are aware that I have a special place in my heart for children. And my personal operant definition of a child includes any boy or girl who is the age of or younger than my own two daughters, and they're now 44 and 41. So, you're welcome. Okay. You're welcome. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Thank you. I love you too. All right. Okay. Well, there's a part in the baptismal rite. I was going to say, before I was so rudely interrupted, but that's been going on for 44 years, so I know. Well, I do love all of you, those who are infants, those who are children, little kids, those who are young adults, and everybody in between. And that's why I love being the permanent deacon here at the Catholic Student Center. I get to be a surrogate father and surrogate grandfather to so many of you. It's a great privilege. I've loved witnessing your marriages, and I've loved baptizing your babies. And there's a part in the baptismal rite in which every priest or deacon that's baptizing an infant says to the newly baptized baby, "You are now called a child of God, for so indeed you are." Now, I literally get choked up every time I say those words, and it happens to me at every baptism. It surprises me every time. I get to say to those little babies perhaps the most important words that they'll ever hear in their lives. And of course, they can neither comprehend nor would they remember those words, so I tell their parents that it's their responsibility to remind those little babies of those words, of the marvelous thing that occurred on the day of their baptism when they're old enough to understand. And I hope they do that. I'm sure some do, and I'm sure some don't. But even for those who are told by their parents that they are sons and daughters of God, I think it's pretty certain that they will not always believe that or know that as they grow older. For if they did, if we did, if all of us did, how could we be troubled by anything that life throws at us? But sad to say, I think we do forget that each and every one of us is a child of God, son of God, a daughter of God. God created man in his image. In the divine image, he created them. Male and female, he created them. And those are the words, as you know, I'm sure, from the first book of the Bible, the first chapter of the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, tells us that we are created in the image and likeness of God. Now, do you believe that to be true? Do you believe that you yourself are created in the image and likeness of God? And is that true for your husband, your wife, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your son or daughter, your other relatives, your friends? Is it true for people that you've never even met? Is it true for people you dislike? Is it true even for those whom you would call your enemies? Now, if this is true, how could you possibly think of yourself or of others anything that is negative in any way, shape, or form? If this is true, how could you possibly mistreat yourself or others? Yet we know that we do. We know that we at times suffer from what we label as low self-esteem or a poor self-image. We know that we at times hold others in contempt and harbor evil thoughts about them. How did this sorry state of affairs come to be? How did we forget that we ourselves and everyone else were created in the image and likeness of God? We forget who we are and what we are, and we behave accordingly. It's the story of the fall. It's the story of the original sin. So God, in His infinite love for us, sent His Son to show us what it means to be a child of God. Jesus revealed to us what it means to be an uncorrupted child of God, a human being who was created in the image and likeness of God. Jesus, true God and true man, the only begotten Son of the Father, reveals to us the nature of a true son or a true daughter of God. Richard Rohr's word for the psychological term ego is the false self, and I think it's probably a better word. It's a self that we all develop early in life and defend come hell or high water. It's a self that is defined by my needs, my beliefs, my judgments, my preferences. The most holy Trinity that we celebrate today is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, 3 persons in one God. And this false self, it seems to me, also has a Trinitarian nature. Only its 3 parts are named me, myself, and I. The false self becomes the idol that I worship. It separates me from my true source. It tells me that I am no longer the one who is created in the image of God. I'm the one who's created in the image of me, and I behave accordingly. But Jesus, in His authenticity, reveals what it's like to be a person who knows who he is, where he comes from, and where he's going. His self is a true self. He knows that he has no identity apart and separate from his Father. His true self is that he is one with the Father in the Holy Spirit, and that his true identity is to be found in this divine union. And that is what it means to be a child of God. It is to be in divine union with God as God's son or God's daughter. It means to be in divine union with all our brothers and sisters because they too are children of our one Father. The proper role of a father and of a mother is to help their sons and daughters grow into an understanding of who they truly are as sons and daughters created in the image and likeness of God, our divine and universal Father. Now, some mothers and fathers do that very well through the sacrificial love they shower on their children, and others do it poorly, if at all. Most are somewhere in the middle. I had an alcoholic father who was so emotionally and spiritually damaged that it rendered him incapable of being a good father. But I had a mother who was one of the most other-centered people on the face of the earth, so it was a mixed bag for me. I learned something about who God is by being my mother's son and my grandmother's grandson, who was an equally remarkable woman. I encountered others in my life who have shown me the face of God through their self-emptying love. Now, I can't prove this, but I believe that God will send each of us 1 or 2 or however many people that we need to teach us how to love and be loved. Sometimes it's a grandchild, and you who are grandparents know that well. For me, in addition to my mother, grandmother, wife, daughters, and grandchild, this also included some wonderful men who mentored me when I was a younger man, thus making up for what my own father was unable to do. God takes care of us by hook or by crook. Now, we all need to cultivate the faith and the hope that's necessary for us to be able to recognize these people when God sends them our way. In his April 14th online daily meditation this year, Richard Rohr wrote these words: "You are a son or daughter of the good and loving God. The divine image is planted inherently and intrinsically within you. You cannot create it. You cannot manufacture it. You cannot earn it. You cannot achieve it. You cannot attain it. You cannot cumulatively work up to it. And do you know why? Because you already have it. You cannot make yourself more beloved, and you cannot make yourself less beloved. You just have to one day recognize that this is true and start drawing your life from that much larger source." So fathers and mothers, teach your children well. By word and example, show them what it is to be a child of God, a man or a woman who is God's beloved son or daughter, in whom he is well pleased. All of us adopted sons and daughters of God, no matter our age, no matter our situation or status in life, should treat each other as men and women who are instilled with the divine image. Just imagine the love that we would have and the respect that we would show one another if we truly believe that God dwells within each and every person we meet. If that man or woman or child next to us is really a child of God, here, in the supermarket, anywhere. Just imagine. And imagine the love and respect that you would have for yourself if you believed that you were a son or daughter of God. For as you were told in the rite of baptism, you are now called a child of God, for so indeed you are.